This is quarterback. I have a situation. Somebody tried to kill me.
Jack, is work okay?
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to What the Flick. I'm Christy, this is Ben, this is Matt. We're talking about Jack Ryan, Shout a Recruit. It's kind of a prequel, it's kind of an origin story. It kind of rips a hole in the time-space continuum because it takes place after 9/11.
Right.
But you're going to describe, Chris Pine is now Jack Ryan.
Yes, Chris Pine is playing the character that Tom Clancy wrote about, created in the 80s, I believe, who ends up in the CIA. This is the story of how Jack Ryan ended up getting recruited into the CIA, basically kind of reboots the whole franchise for a new actor. He gets recruited. We see him get wounded in war in Afghanistan. He ends up recruited into the CIA and then ends up going on his first mission in Russia. I was glad to see the Russians back as our old nemesis. Let's take a look.
Why don't you sit down? Now talk me through your very scary scenario. Keep in mind, I don't have your PhD.
Jack?
I have to go to Moscow.
Why don't you want me to come?
Because I'm gonna be working the whole time.
Jack, you got another problem.
What are you doing here?
You lied to me for 3 years. Somebody
Come
you were
on,
in
of
the
course not.
CIA.
Can we have a minute, please?
No, this is geopolitics, not couples therapy. There's a very real scenario here where we don't get out of this alive.
We are compromised.
Yes, so Chris Pine has now played young Jack Ryan and young Captain Kirk.
That's
Yes.
right.
That's a lot of pressure for one guy.
Yeah.
He's really good in this.
He's good. He's a
Yeah.
good actor. He's believable. I liked the first 47 minutes of this movie.
You were looking at your watch.
I liked it a lot. I think. Like I was into it. And
It's
then,
solid.
And then it made some very traditional movie mistakes, which really irritated me, and maybe irritated me more than it irritated you because I may have liked the first part better. You know that it was unsustainable. But they have a scene where they're trying to figure out, who the bad guy is. They're trying to stop the thing that they're trying to stop. And they inexplicably take off on a really well-equipped...
This is what really
The
bothered
thing
me.
with the plane, yes.
They take off on a really well-equipped plane that somehow got into Russia. Like, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
They're the CIA.
But there's nothing
Stealth.
Right, but like a
stealth
Jack
plane.
Ryan extrication from Russia, given what he did, would have been cool. Like, it needed to be thoughtful. It didn't need
You
to
want
be
to see like Bourne.
I didn't need to see just like a TV episode of an old episode of Mannix. Like just get to the tarmac and our plane will just be there and we'll fly out of Russian airspace, even though they know whatever. So forget that. Then forget. Like, I didn't like that because it was a once out of the pit moment. Like, oh no, everything's fine. Like we think he's stuck there. No, he's not stuck there. They'll just leave.
Right.
They
Get in the plane and go.
We'll just fly home in like no time, apparently. It's a supersonic jet that the Russians allowed the CIA to have there. And then on the plane, there's that horrible movie scene of needing to figure out, cross-check that guy against births born in 1984. I found him. Wait a minute, didn't Plezhenko have a son? He died in 1985. Check and see if they're the same person. The pictures come up. They're the same guy. Check that, and then they call and they find out where the payphone next to the guy's house made calls to Pennsylvania. Cross that against numbers in Pennsylvania of chemical plants. He made 17 calls to this plant. That's where he is. Go. We're going to Altoona.
Right. They find the barn. They find the one foreclosed barn in all of rural Pennsylvania.
What do you think Snowden's been complaining about? That's what he's blowing the whistle. This is the kind of shit that they can do.
I get that they can do it. It's just right. It's I know you're kidding, but it's like it needs to be subtler, more complicated, and they're saying things out loud just to help us out because they were like, man, we don't want this to be 2.5 hours. They find the guy, okay? They find him and we go there, and now the movie moves here. And that first part in Russia, where they're trying to get interesting information, was cool, and then it became stupid and a movie I've seen 100 times that could easily have starred Sylvester Stallone and Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a
it's
whole
no
thing.
worse than we see in the Bond movies.
The Bond movies are better.
No, they don't.
This is,
they don't resolve all that.
This is a lot of
quickly.
hand-holding.
The Bond movie stays smaller if there's a big thing they have to solve, but the actual pursuit or whatever it is stays smaller. Look, some bad Bond movies have done it too, no question, but the good Bond movies don't do it.
The intimate stuff in the beginning with the tradecraft, a word that you're so fond of, is cool, like the passing off of the file and the card, whatever. That stuff's cool. But then, yes, all of a sudden, like Jack Ryan happens to find the one police van that may have the bad guy in it, and there is the usual ticking time bomb clock with a giant beep beep, beep, with like the 500 that goes off, and that's very standard for any kind of action movie.
I tend to agree with you. The opening of this movie is a lot stronger, and it does some interesting stuff. And the scene where he has the panicked phone call to his handler.
That's good.
Right, the emergency phone call.
It's great.
It's a fantastic scene.
Right out of 3 Days of the Condor.
Right, and the way that the things that they set up, the lack of information they get him, and kind of like the 5-second pep talk was awesome.
Yeah.
That was absolutely great. And yeah, the movie does kind of fall into a lot of cliches in that third act. I thought that it was executed well enough that I didn't mind. But it does set up that this movie could have been an 8 or a 9.
Right.
It could have really been something really legendary and really memorable, and they do kind of drop the ball at the end. I was okay with it because I thought it was strong enough for most of it that when it falls into the cliches, it's like, it's still having fun. I'm still worried about how it's going to resolve itself, but
I don't mind the cliches. It's taking you out of the moment that the cliches do. Like, I actually don't object to him when he finds the thing, because he uses his brain to figure that out, because it relates to the paint, which is why he found the correct police van.
In the frenzy of Lower Manhattan.
Yeah, but he was looking for it.
Okay.
Like, we knew he was
All
looking
right.
for that. How am I going to find this? What I don't like is what we know can happen, which is that kind of information, which exists, but it takes time. And so when they suggest that all happens at once, why didn't they just do that in the first place? Like, I don't. It causes this sort of moment of, like, because we're led to believe also that this analyst, right, who goes to Russia, like, he's not a trade, which is why that scene is so good. He's not a field agent, so he's in some danger. So the idea of how's this inexperienced guy going to manage to get out of this mess was interesting. And then they he just left. I took a cab to the airport and he went home.
We
It's a
should
big deal.
mention that Kenneth Branagh directed this, and he stars as the Russian bad guy Shevardin. And
Shevardin?
how is this? How does this compare to Thor? Right, he did the first Thor. He can do a big action set piece. He can do a fight. The fight where he takes down someone. I don't want to give it away. Someone's after him is really strong and really visceral.
the fight in the hotel room was great.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That one, that was really
Yeah,
good.
no, look,
And a couple of big chase scenes, action set pieces. There's an exploding helicopter in the beginning. That was kind of badass.
Whoever directed the first 50 minutes of this movie is a very good director.
That would be Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something happened down the stretch, but no, he was good, and he's good as the bad guy. He does the Russian accent nicely, and it was
very much a Bond villain.
Yeah, he was total Bond villain, total Bond
Snarling.
villain. Yeah,
Very
Quietly
much kind of a
snarling.
Bond plot. Like this, there's a
How
lot.
did they fix there's a fight early in the movie, and then the people who win the fight have to make it okay. Like, how do you get guys in there to a hotel
In an
room
hour.
to re-caulk the sink?
In an hour.
I will
Yeah,
say
in an
that
hour.
was one of the things is they leave him, they kind of leave Jack Ryan kind of on his own, and yet there's this implication that there's this massive setup that the CIA has, like this massive black ops,
Yeah, totally.
that they can rebuild hotel rooms and they can get someone in and out of the country. And it's like, all right, so why is this all just kind of like bailing wire and it
Right.
feels like they've half-assed everything with Jack Ryan, and everything else behind the scenes is like black ops, super awesome. Like, well, why didn't they just send those guys in?
Right,
He
why
has
did they
to
send
get up
those
to
guys and
speed.
pretend that
Yes.
those guys worked at the firm in New
Right.
York? It's a little silly.
Because
Yeah.
he's cute and charming, and he has something that Kevin Costner sees in him, which we don't understand. He's
I
a certain
like-
something.
I like Kevin Costner.
I liked him in this. I liked him
I
as
think
he's
Costner's great in
downplaying
this.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
We should mention that Keira Knightley plays his wife, plays Jack Ryan's soon-to-be wife and eventual wife.
Yeah, but
She'll be
that
Anne
was-
Archer someday.
But that was puzzling too.
Why?
Like they suggest this backstory of some strife in their relationship, which is causing her not to marry him, and then, like, why?
And I'm not sure why they made her be American. Like, that was a little weird to me.
Isn't Jack Ryan's wife American?
Yeah, I understand that, but who cares?
Like, I think
does that really matter for that? I mean, they're taking all these other liberties with the character.
true.
Why force Keira Knightley to
Just
do
have her
an
be
American accent?
Just have her be a
let
British doctor who worked.
Yeah.
She worked at the
Why not?
whatever. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Let her do her own accent.
She's fine.
She's lovely. She's lovely.
She gets to do a little more than just the
Yeah.
usual wife character, girlfriend character in peril. She gets to be a stronger character than that, which is nice.
Yeah. So look, this was headed to 8ville, and then it got on an airplane and came crashing down.
This is supposed to have come out last year, was it not?
I
And they
don't know.
moved it
Oh, I
to
don't know.
January.
Is that right?
I think it was supposed to come out around Christmas, possibly, and they moved it
You know,
to doldrums of January.
Considering the kind of big budget disasters we see in January, I think this one's kind of a pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
You want to go to a movie, you can do worse. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's
All right,
okay.
so what's your number?
I gave it a 5.3 just
Okay.
because I was really disappointed with the back half.
Okay, I say 6.
Yeah, I say 6. I kind of enjoyed it.
So our
It's
average
a
is
good
a
time.
5.7. You could do worse in January.
5.7. That's a perfect. Our average is perfect. Yeah.
68% on the tomato meter.
Okay.
You know, go see it.
Okay.